Opening visuals. When we hear the name Leo Tolstoy, most of us picture a wise old man with a long silver beard, a deep, almost mystical gaze, and a simple peasant shirt. To Americans, he's the legendary Russian who wrote War and Peace, the 1,000-page monster many of us tried and failed to finish in college. But behind this familiar image lies a man far more complicated, far more dangerous, and far more revolutionary than most of the world ever realized. Because Tolstoy wasn't just a writer. He was a man who went to war with his country, his church, his government, and finally his own family. The shock. Imagine this. It's the early 1870s. War and Peace is a literary earthquake. Critics praise it. Readers adore it. But Tolstoy? He writes to a friend saying, "How happy I am that I will never again write such verbose nonsense." To Americans, this is like Spielberg saying Jaws was trash, or Tolkien calling The Lord of the Rings a bad fantasy. But he wasn't joking. This wasn't writer's insecurity. This was the beginning of a transformation that would shake the foundations of Russia itself. The growing disgust. Decades later, Tolstoy is 80. His fame is global. His novels are classics. Yet in his diary, he writes, "People praise me for my trifles, War and Peace and the like." To him, his greatest works were unimportant. What mattered were the ideas he was now exploring, ideas so powerful they would later inspire Gandhi and also get Tolstoy labeled an extremist in modern Russia. Yes, in the 21st century, Russian courts officially ruled that Leo Tolstoy was an extremist. Not the fictional character, not a misunderstanding, the real man, dead for a century, yet still dangerous. The anathema. Tolstoy's war with the system began in 1901. The Russian Orthodox Church, the most powerful spiritual force in the empire, excommunicated him. This wasn't a slap on the wrist. This was the church declaring Tolstoy is no longer one of us. It was spiritual war. Millions were told that the most famous man in Russia was a heretic. To Americans, imagine the Vatican excommunicating Mark Twain while every newspaper runs the story on the front page. Except, Tolstoy didn't back down. He fired back. Modern Russia versus the ghost of Tolstoy. Fast forward to 2010. In the Russian city of Yekaterinburg, an official expert testifies that Tolstoy's writings incite hatred toward the Orthodox Church. The court agrees. But the most surreal moment comes from another case, where court documents literally list Leo Tolstoy, male, born 1828, resident of Yasnaya Polyana, and then declare him an extremist. Why? Because he once wrote, "The doctrine of the Russian Orthodox Church is a harmful lie." Even dead, Tolstoy still terrifies the system he challenged. A moral warrior. But Tolstoy's fight wasn't just with religion. He believed the church justified a greater evil, the violence of the state. In the early 1900s, Russia was drowning in revolutionary chaos. Prime Minister Pyotr Stolypin launched brutal crackdowns, quick executions, no appeals. People called the gallows Stolypin's necktie. Tolstoy couldn't stay silent. He wrote the explosive article, "I Cannot Be Silent." Then he addressed the Tsar and Prime Minister directly. "You are the main hidden executioners." For an American comparison, imagine a public letter calling the President and the Secretary of State murderers in print during wartime. It was unthinkable. But Tolstoy didn't care. He was fighting for conscience, even if it meant fighting the empire. The spiritual shift. After rejecting the church, Tolstoy didn't become an atheist. He became more spiritual. He returned to the original teachings of Christ. He studied Buddha, Confucius, the Quran, the Vedas. He looked everywhere for truth. And across the world, a young Indian lawyer named Mohandas Gandhi discovered Tolstoy's writings. Gandhi wrote, "Tolstoy's ideas opened my eyes." The two began corresponding. Two men, one in a Russian forest, one in South Africa, discussing how to resist injustice without violence. This exchange would later ignite the movement that liberated India. Tolstoy's ideas traveled farther than he ever did. The war at home. But while his ideas were liberating nations, Tolstoy was losing the battle inside his own home. To live his philosophy, he tried to give away his copyrights, meaning the income supporting his large family. His wife, Sophia, who managed their estate and raised their children, was horrified. To her, this wasn't philosophy, this was survival. What followed was years of arguments, diary wars, emotional breakdowns, distrust, surveillance inside their own home. Sophia began watching him constantly, afraid he would do something unpredictable. Tolstoy felt trapped, a prisoner in the estate he once loved. He wrote in his secret diary, "My life here has become unbearable." The stage was set for his final, dramatic escape. The Escape. It's October 28, 1910. In the dead of night, 82-year-old Tolstoy quietly packs a small bag. His doctor joins him. They slip through the shadows of Yasnaya Polyana like fugitives. On the table, Tolstoy leaves a heartbreaking note for his wife. "I can no longer live as I do. Do not look for me." He gets on a cold, third-class train. He wants to disappear among the common people, to become the peasant he had always admired. But fate intervenes. He grows feverish, weak, delirious. At a tiny, unknown station called Astapovo, the journey ends. The world rushes to the scene. Journalists, officials, followers. For 7 days, the world watches the slow fading of one of its greatest minds. On November 7th, 1910, Leo Tolstoy dies, not in luxury, not in his estate, but in a railway station master's small house to the sound of passing trains. The final statement. Tolstoy's funeral was his last protest. No priests, no icons, no church rituals. A silent procession walked into the woods of Yasnaya Polyana. No marble, no monument, just a small grassy hill under the trees. He wanted it this way, because as a child, he and his brother believed a green stick was buried there, a stick holding the secret to freeing humanity from suffering. This myth shaped his entire life, and in death he returned to it, a grave without a cross, without a name, without a date. A final declaration. Truth is greater than power. Conscience is greater than fame. Closing reflection. Today, we remember Tolstoy as the author of huge novels we weren't sure we'd ever finish. But he was so much more. A man who challenged the Tsar. A man excommunicated by a church. A man whose ideas inspired Gandhi. A man modern Russia still labels an extremist. A man who destroyed his own comfort to follow his conscience. A man who died on a journey, still searching for truth. And now, more than a century later, Tolstoy leaves us with a question that's as powerful today as it was then. What matters more? A comfortable life inside the rules, or the lonely, difficult road of staying true to your conscience? Tolstoy made his choice, and the world is still feeling the impact. Friends, how was the story? I hope you enjoyed it. If you really liked it, don't forget to hit the like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And make sure to turn on the bell icon so you'll be the very first to get the next video as soon as it drops tonight. That's all for now. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.